Hello, fight fans, and welcome back to Deep Sport Insights, your home for MMA breakdowns and fight picks. In today's episode, we're breaking down the UFC Fight Night RIO card, which has 13 fights, headlined by a lightweight bout between Charles Oliveira and Mateusz Gamrot. And we have a co-main event between Deiveson Figueiredo and Montel Jackson. So it's going to be an exciting card. This card takes place in Rio, Brazil. It'll be starting a little bit earlier than our usual cards. This one at 4 p.m. Eastern time for the early prelim, so make sure you check it out. And with that, let's get right into our breakdowns for today. Starting with our early prelims, again, 4 p.m. Eastern, make sure you check it out. We have Lacerda taking on Simon Oliveira. So this is a matchup between two Brazilian grappling specialists who are both winless inside the UFC. But the context around those losses matters. Simon Oliveira entered the promotion through Dana White's Contender Series back in 2021 with a split decision win. But since then, he's been finished twice by knees and punches and lost a decision to Tony Gravely. The glaring issue is his body durability. Oliveira has repeatedly been hurt to the midsection, rocked by knees, and finished when pressure builds. Despite owning 5 career knockouts, his striking simply hasn't translated to the UFC level. He's hittable, struggles defensively, and often gets trapped mid-range where his grappling entries are predictable. Lacerda, on the other hand, is coming off a 2-year layoff following a TKO loss to Damon Blackshear. That loss makes sense. Blackshear is a taller, more physical, and strong counter-grappler who blends his striking well. Against Oliveira, however, the matchup looks much more favorable. Lacerda has sharp hands, uses a good jab, and throws with intent even if he limits himself to simply 2 to 3 strike combinations. The goal for him is always establish his striking to open up his grappling and the jiu-jitsu. If the fight hits the mat, it's Lacerda's world. Oliveira's path to victory will require him to enter into those grappling exchanges and outwork a better technician, something that's unlikely unless Lacerda completely misfires or makes a mistake. On the feet, Lacerda is still a more composed striker, and given Oliveira's recurring body shot weakness, there's a clear opportunity for targeted offense early. The pick is going to be Lacerda, and I like him to get it inside the distance, so get the finish either by TKO or by club and sub. I feel pretty confident in Lacerda to win. The inside the distance, a little less so, but still that's the lean I'm going to go with. Moving on to our next fight. I'm hoping this is pretty efficient today because I actually recorded this twice because I forgot to turn my mic on the first time. So I ran through all these fights once already and then realized my mic was on mute. So that happens, and here's me fixing myself in the corner because I forgot to do that for the first fight again. But anyways, getting right into it. Next fight, we have a women's strawweight bout between Julia Polastri and Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Now, before anything else, Karolina Kowalkiewicz deserves her flowers. She's a true pioneer of Polish MMA. She set up her own gym. She's helped a lot of these Polish fighters and Polish kickboxers transition into MMA. And she's really paved that path for fighters out of Poland. So thank you for Karolina Kowalkiewicz for her contributions. She has fought for the UFC title in her past. Unfortunately, she's 39 years old, getting up there in the year. She's facing a 27-year-old here. And it's just, I think it's that time where her speed, reaction time, and pop have all faded. If you watch the Diniz Gomes fight or the Lucindo fight, it's just not there. Those are all kickboxing matches, which is what Karolina Kowalkiewicz built her career on. And she just was too slow, not powerful enough, didn't have the cardio, was non-existent in the third round. It is time for her to hang it up. And I say that with absolute respect because of what she's done and what she's contributed to the game in women's MMA. Though I don't know if there'll be another like Karolina Kowalkiewicz, but I just want to make sure I took a moment to acknowledge the contributions of this fighter. That being said, Julia Polastri on the other side is 12 years younger, represents the opposite trajectory. She's young, aggressive, and improving every time she's out there. She's a high-volume striker with finishing upside, confident combinations, and good durability of her own. She's not a massive puncher, but she overwhelms her opponents with pace and precision, sometimes that will likely be too much for the aging Kowalkiewicz. The fight dynamic, the way I see this playing out, Palastri's biggest advantage is the speed and output. Expect her to pressure early, work behind a tight boxing rhythm, and accumulate damage over time. Kowalkiewicz's best moments will come in the clinch, but even there, Palastri's youth and physicality will win the exchanges. Kowalkiewicz's durability will likely keep her standing, but she'll spend most of the fight reacting instead of leading anything. So because of that, I do like Julia Polastri to get to win by decision. Not a whole lot of value there. I like Julia Polastri as a side. Some people are trying to squeeze value out by saying Polastri by finish. That's disrespectful to Karolina Kowalkiewicz, who hasn't been finished even by the best of the best in her division. Yeah, she's slow, but she didn't forget how to fight. Those are two very different things. And if you bring a fight to someone like that, well, they don't need to be fast because they just need to respond to you. And I do see Julia Polastri trying to bring the fight to Kowalkiewicz, but I think Kowalkiewicz can shut down the majority of any real threats that are coming from Julia Polastri. But defense doesn't win you fights, and that's why I'm going with Julia Polastri to actually get this done. I keep saying Julia as Julia. Jumping ahead. Next fight, we got Valter Walker versus Muhammad Usman. This is going to be one of my best fights on the card, and it's one of my favorite bets. So we have, so if you're watching this, it's going to be Thursday morning. I'm uploading this. Again, not financial advice, but if I were watching this and I were paying attention to those live betting lines on the sportsbook, I'd go and get a bet in if I like Valter Walker on the money line. I'd get that in right away. I also get a submission pick in right away, even as a single. The reason for that is when I started doing my recording and research yesterday, Valter Walker was minus 300 and his sub prop was about plus 180, plus 190 on some books. Now, as less than, I'd say, 16 hours later or 14 hours later, we're seeing he's about minus 330, minus 350 on some books on the money line, and his submission prop has come down to plus 150. I expect that to continue going in those directions. Both of those to continue going in that direction until the fight start. I expect his submission prop to be as low as plus 110, plus 120 before fight start time, and I expect him to be as high as a minus 400 heading into this fight. For that reason, I am kind of waving the flag now that if you guys really do like this fight the way that I do, make sure you go get your bets in on Valter Walker right away. Now, that being said, Muhammad Usman is the definition of a low-volume, durable brawler. He's 36 years old. His output is dropping every fight, and his grappling, once a strong part of his game, has noticeably disappeared from his approach. Add in the fact that he's openly discussed retirement, and you've got a fighter whose physical tools and motivation are clearly fading. Valter Walker, meanwhile, looks like a problem. Younger, more athletic, and absolutely comfortable wherever the fight goes. He can wrestle at a strong clip or just as easily pull guard and attack submissions. Pulling guard, if you told me there was going to be a successful heavyweight in the UFC who pulled guard, I'd say you were crazy. But here we are now. Valter Walker is literally just getting tight clinches and dropping and pulling guard and attacking heel hooks. And I think he's going to do the exact same thing in this fight because it's very available. Muhammad Usman doesn't have fancy footwork. He's not very fast. He's very easy to get your hands on. And he doesn't have any real threat on his own. Couple that with that he's the brother of Kamaru Usman, who had knee issues of his own, and that really derailed his activity and career. I think Muhammad Usman is kind of looking at the corner of his eye like, I don't want no sauce with that. And I know his coaches are getting him ready for this heel hooks and what's coming in this fight. And I have to assume his coach told him, hey, listen, if he gets it, just tap. Because if you do not tap, he's going to tear out your knee, and this will be your retirement fight. Guy's 36 years old at 250 pounds. If a guy tears out your knee, you're not fighting at the UFC level again for at least another year. So I don't see a 37 and a half, a 38-year-old Muhammad Usman making a comeback later at 38 years old after a torn out knee. So I'm pretty sure he's actually been instructed to just go ahead and tap if he finds himself in that position, because I don't think he even understands the position. He was never a jiu-jitsu or a very cerebral fighter in the first place. You can see there by my fight IQ, I just put it at a 2. He'll box and if in trouble, shoot a takedown, and none of them are very good. His boxing's not amazing. His takedowns aren't amazing. So that's the breakdown. Valter Walker definitely gets this win. He's one of my locks of the card, and I feel very strong about him getting the submission, and I'm even going to take a shot at him to get that submission in the very first round. Now we move on to our prelims, with the early prelims all wrapped up, and I think we would have made some nice money. Those are very easy picks to knock through, and now we get into some of the tough ones. I would say the prelims for this card are a bit more tougher to navigate. We're starting off with Rocha versus Stuart Nicoll. So Rocha fights out of Astra Fight Team, Nicoll out of Great Britain Top Team. This matchup has classic striker versus grappler written all over it. Rocha is more polished Muay Thai fighter, boasting 10 career knockouts and clean technical striking. He's sharp in the pocket, mixes his kicks well, and carries real knockout power for a flyweight. While Rocha has a solid jiu-jitsu background, he doesn't possess the kind of offensive wrestling that lets him dictate where the fight goes. He's far more comfortable when he's the one dictating the range on the feet. Stuart Nicoll, on the other hand, is a fast-paced, high-paced grappler who thrives on chain wrestling and pressure. He's not afraid to shoot repeatedly, and he'll wrestle and re-wrestle as he has to. The problem I do want to highlight is that means he's not holding his opponents down very effectively, because he has a high takedown rate, high activity rate, but he's never been in a 5-round fight, and his fights average about 10 minutes and 57 seconds. So you factor that in with a 5.7 average takedowns landed per fight, and it means his opponents are finding their way back up to the feet. And they're doing that at the more of the regional scene level. So that's something to keep in mind when breaking down this fight. Nicoll lost his UFC debut to Jesus Aguilar, who he was dominating for the first round and a half, until when he went for one of those takedowns, Jesus Aguilar was able to lock up one of his signature guillotine chokes with his short arms, and he was able to get Stuart Nicoll to tap, and that was the fight. But otherwise, Nicoll was dominating that fight with the grappling. If this fight stays on the feet, Rocha's crisp striking and power make him the clear favorite, but the longer it goes, the more likely Nicoll is to find success with his relentless takedown pressure. His striking isn't flashy, but it's functional, just good enough to back Rocha up and set up takedowns. Rocha's takedown defense will be tested early and often, and if Nicoll can survive the first round without taking significant damage, he has a real shot to outgrind his way to a decision. Now, I want to highlight, Lucas Rocha is a slight favorite. This is in Brazil, and he is a big striker. Nicoll should be able to neutralize all that striking by just continuing to try and wrestle and re-wrestle. Now, this doesn't look very attractive, and if he doesn't mix in the striking along with it or any kind of real ground and pound, then I don't see the judges leaning his way or favoring him at all, because it's a Brazilian at home who's doing more damage likely in the striking. But if Nicoll can completely neutralize, I see a decision win for him. I still see Lucas Rocha able to actually win around here. So if you're able to play this on DraftKings and play the point spread on this fight, if you can get Lucas Rocha at plus 3.5, I think is fine. I think he'll win around, because that Stuart Nicoll method, and plus Lucas Rocha being in Brazil, the judges factoring all that stuff in, and plus the grappling not being very sexy, I can see Lucas Rocha just taking a round off Stuart Nicoll, and then it's being a close decision win for Stuart Nicoll. Or it could even tip for Lucas Rocha if Stuart Nicoll's not getting those takedowns early, or if he is getting them early and he fades later in the fight, right? So these are all factors in here. That's why it's not a very high confidence pick at all. It's actually very low. Stuart Nicoll is the side, and low Stuart Nicoll by decision. So again, this is not going to be on any parlay. This is not going to be on any best picks. But if you want the breakdown, there it is. All right. Next, we have Bia Mesquita versus Irina Alekseeva. Now, everyone's all over Bia Mesquita here. She's making her UFC debut. She's a 10-time IBJJF gold medalist. Most of that is, I think all of it is actually gi jiu-jitsu. She is a short, stocky, tanky girl. She's only 5'2". She's going up against a 5'8" opponent here, right? I'm listing some of this stuff out before I get into the breakdown, so you kind of pay attention where I'm pulling all these pieces and my thoughts from. And we've seen this before, where we have a super favorite like a minus 500, minus 700, minus 900 coming in to face making their UFC debut in women's MMA. And I think we go back the last 2 to 3 years, all the way back to like Kong Wang's debut. These women are losing at a 40 to 50% clip. Given that the odds are always so high on their opponent, knowing those numbers, you have to bet the dog in these positions. This is dog or pass spot in these type of positions. Now, I'll tell you how you get to betting Irina Alekseeva in this spot, because almost everyone has Bia Mesquita, even though they haven't seen her in the UFC, probably never seen her fight in mixed martial arts. And she herself, in her interviews this year, is saying she feels like a white belt in MMA. She's made this transition very fast. Her first professional MMA fight was in 2024, right? And she's going up against Irina Alekseeva, who, is only 5-3, but she comes from a Sambo background, and she's extremely durable. For those of you who don't know what Sambo is like grappling and boxing combined together, but it's like upper body wrestling. So you have to get those throws and ties from up top, which if you notice a lot of these judo people who try to get takedowns and try to build up a grappling game, they like clinch wrestling and upper body Greco-Roman style takedowns over shooting takedowns, because that's exhausting. Bia Mesquita doesn't shoot takedowns like that. She'll try to grapple and take you down from the clinch and from having the body lock, which was Irina Alekseeva should be able to defend well and be quite familiar with, because she comes from a significant Sambo background. And Sambo has been known to be the thing that neutralizes and beats BJJ. That's where Abdul Manap school came from, right? Like the Khabib school. And they're like, oh, jiu-jitsu means nothing in front of Sambo. Sambo's dominant. Wrestling beats jiu-jitsu. And they kind of made a whole career out of beating jiu-jitsu. Now, this is not a Dagestani fighter, right? She is not from the Abdul Manap school, but she has a significant Sambo background. And it just happens to be that fighting style. It's good for beating jiu-jitsu, which she is going up against a high-level jiu-jitsu girl, but in her own world. For that reason, this is a dog or pass spot. I have a low confidence pick in Irina Alekseeva, but if I'm going to bet it, I'm not betting her straight up. I'm going to bet her to win by going the distance. So if Bia Mesquita isn't able to get the submission in the first round, where Irina's all dry and Bia has the most energy that she'll have, the fight goes into the second round. Now they're sweaty. Irina has the longer range. She's significantly taller. Bia now has to reinitiate and try to get inside the grappling. We know Irina Alekseeva has that Sambo background, so she's not just going to be a pushover in terms of getting those takedowns. However, if I do find Irina Alekseeva on the ground in that first 5 or 6 minutes of the fight, I do think she gets finished. I just don't think she ends up there in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the fight, and we're going to see Bia Mesquita start to panic. We're going to see her start eating punches on the feet when she's tired and she's just standing there taking pictures, because jiu-jitsu, BJJ matches at that level are only 8 minutes long. So a full MMA fight is 15 minutes. And after that first round, by the time you're 1 or 2 minutes into that second round, she's kind of going to be already peaked out. And we've seen already, if she's not getting her finishes, because she has 4 finishes all in the first round, if she's not getting them in the first round, it goes to decision and she wins on the regional scene. But what's happening in the UFC against fighters like Irina Alekseeva, right? Who we look at a 5-3 record and we just think she's bad, but it's just tough matchups. She is susceptible to get taken down, but by real wrestlers. I don't see Bia Mesquita as a real wrestler. I see her as a jiu-jitsu specialist. So hence the reason, hence the bet, hence the betting angle. I'm going to take Irina Alekseeva to win by decision. It's probably going to be plus 800, and that's going to be the flyer I take on this one. Ooh, next, we got a heavyweight bout between Vitor Petrino and Thomas Petersen. So this is Vitor Petrino's second fight at heavyweight. He's coming off a submission win over Austin Lane. Now, let's be real. Beating Austin Lane doesn't mean a whole lot of much. Thomas Petersen has also beaten Austin Lane. Austin Lane is also no longer in the UFC. He's just a really tall dude with a weak chin and no cardio. So we expect that win, and it was a good, easy win for Petrino. I also want to highlight Petrino's wins in light heavyweight include Anton Turkalj, Modestas Bukauskas, Tyson Pedro, and again, Austin Lane at heavyweight. None of those are great wins. And I think only one of those fighters still in the UFC, which is Modestas Bukauskas. But we know he's kind of chinny. His only weakness is his chin. And Vitor Petrino found his chin and got him out of there. So, but I do think Vitor Petrino is going to look better at heavyweight than he did at light heavyweight. Yeah. I think he's going to look better at light heavyweight than he looks at better at heavyweight than at light heavyweight, because I think his durability took a hit. His cardio definitely took a hit when he used to make those weight cuts. Now it looks like he's not even trying, and he's putting on the weight really well, and he looks thick. It's not like he got fat. He still has abs. He has giant boulder shoulders. He just got even bigger. It's like you dragged and increased him like an image, and that's how much bigger Vitor Petrino got. On the other side, he's going up against Thomas Petersen, who is not very exciting to watch, boxes and wrestles pretty well, right? He's going to beat anyone who's not a non-fighter outside the UFC. Thomas Petersen beats them. In the UFC, he's definitely been having his challenges. Now, this is similar to another dogger pass spot, because Vitor Petrino is minus 300. I expect that line to keep climbing as the week goes on. But if Vitor Petrino isn't able to get Thomas Petersen out of there in the first round and a half, and Thomas Petersen is pretty durable, I think Vitor Petrino's cardio is going to fall off a cliff, and Thomas Petersen will just out-volume him. We know he'll like to box. He'll stand there. He will initiate the clinch as he get inside the clinch and initiate the box as the grappling as he needs to. Vitor Petrino does not have the greatest takedown defense. I think if Thomas Petersen even scores a single takedown in this fight, this becomes immediately way more competitive, because Vitor Petrino hasn't shown a tendency to be able to get back to his feet. He kind of just closes guard, throws attacks. He starts fighting off his back. So IQ is definitely a problem for Vitor Petrino. It's very hard to take a guy with a low IQ, moving up in weight class, who's only has wins over, I would say, the absolute bums of the UFC. Find me a fighter who has a worse set of wins than Vitor Petrino. So find me someone who has wins, is in the UFC, and has wins that are worse than Anton Turkalj, Modestas Bukauskas, Tyson Pedro, and Austin Lane. If you know someone, drop it in the comments, because I'm actually gonna go research that and actually look at it. I'm like, is this true? Does this person have worse wins? Because I care. That type of stuff is interesting to me. But I challenge anyone who's watching this right now, find someone in the UFC who has wins that are worse than Vitor Petrino's. And then we have Thomas Petersen, who I think he has good gas tank. He'll put out volume. He will engage in the wrestling if he has to. I can see either man winning this fight 29-28. That's the truth. Either guy can win this 29-28, and all it takes is just to mix up a little bit of the grappling. Because Vitor Petrino, yeah, it's going to have more power, but that's where you look for the big moments and to get those shots. You don't necessarily look for he doesn't really put Petersen out, and he doesn't put up volume. So for that reason, give me Thomas Petersen. Slight lean. Again, not very confident. It just makes sense from a betting edge. All right. And then next up, we have Jafel Filho versus Clayton Carpenter. Another very difficult fight to bet. Now, this fight and the next fight, I just wanted you guys to kind of pay attention to this, because I've noticed this when it comes to putting parlays together for UFC cards. Where the parlays usually break down, or you get the upsets, are those last few fights of the prelims and the first few fights of the main card. And I find the reason for this is because you have your parlays, they'll be looking good early because those are low-level fights and they're trying to build up certain fighters on the early cards. Well, you'll put clear mismatches against each other. But then as it goes up, the fights are a little bit more competitive, and the fighters are just as dangerous as they have holes in their game. They haven't completely shored up all the holes in their game like you have at the championship level fights. At the championship level, it's not about how dangerous each guy is. It's how many mistakes do they make. And for championship fights, it's almost none. If you're a true champion in the UFC, you're making almost no mistakes in 25 minutes. It doesn't mean you're going to get the win, but you're not allowing your opponent to exploit any mistakes that you make, so you're aware of what those mistakes are. You've cleaned up your game to the highest level. You don't really get that at kind of the late prelims and early main card fights. You do get action, and for that reason, I just want to say, if you're going to be parlaying, maybe avoid parlaying this fight and the next fight, the Almeida fight. Just avoid putting those in your parlays, because I do feel like these are the ones where you could be like, oh no, how did I lose that? Or like there was an upset, or how the referees go in a certain direction, because these are those type of fighters. This is that kind of fight card. It's that kind of situation. So I just want to give it my 2 cents to everyone who's watching this right now. Be careful when parlaying any of these next 2 fights. Oh my God, what just happened? Why did it zoom in onto my head? Hello? Can we like pull this back out? Jeez, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this now. It would be floating head. Don't know why my camera did that. What can we do here? Oh well. Whatever. This is what it is now. You guys seem like, okay, like a little bit. Alright, whatever. Okay. Going into Clayton Carpenter versus Jafel Filho. Another razor close flyweight matchup, and honestly, better to watch than it is to bet. Both fighters are talented, dangerous, and capable of looking great for stretches before making one mistake that swings momentum. Clayton Carpenter is a stronger wrestler and scrambler who was dominating Jesus Aguilar his last fight before getting caught in the guillotine. Aguilar's signature move, after several relentless takedown attempts, he got caught in Aguilar's signature move, which is his guillotine. He got finished in there. But he was dominating that fight. He was dominating Jesus Aguilar for the first round and a half before he got caught. Aguilar has, I think, 9 submission wins by guillotine now. He has those short T-Rex arms, and that's what did it. But Clayton Carpenter was dominating before that. So keep that in mind, even though he's coming off a loss. And he is going to grapple and re-grapple as much as he has to. But his opponents are likely going to be able to get back up. But he's also a good striker. So Clayton Carpenter, well-rounded, should be in this fight. But Jafel Filho is definitely the more dangerous of the 2 fighters. Has more finishing upside, has more knockouts, have more submission wins. And he's also more than twice as experienced as Clayton Carpenter in the spot. That's why I think there's really good value on Jafel Filho to win this fight. And the fight to go over 1.5 rounds or over 2.5 rounds. I think both guys are durable. But Jafel Filho is just so much more dangerous, and he's way more experienced. He's not giving up any size here. If anything, he's slightly taller. Yeah, that's why I got when you look at just the fundamentals and on paper, you got to go with Jafel Filho in this fight. This is a low confidence pick, and you're also getting an underdog, and that's essentially the whole breakdown for me. What is going on with this camera? I got a new camera, hoping that'll kind of help out. Now I just keep zooming in on my face. Next thing, you guys are gonna be looking right up my nose. So like, I'm a little bit worried here right now. How do I fix this thing? Come on, zoom out. Zoom out for me. Oh my God, whatever. I'll figure this out for the next one, guys. All right, now we move on to the main card. Oh my God, what do I gotta do here? All right, let me do that. All right, it's only someone in the screen. All right, next fight: Lucas Almeida versus Michael Aswell. Again, this is one of the second fights I'd say do not parlay this anywhere. It's going to be a good fight to watch, but not the best to bet. Both Lucas Almeida and Michael Aswell tend to get dragged into back and forth wars where neither man pulls away clearly on the scorecards. Almeida is a shoot-to-box fighter. Aswell's from Sanford MMA. Michael Aswell enters this one 1-2 in the UFC. He's a grinder who leans on volume and wrestling. He's staying busy enough to sway judges even when he's not dealing major damage. He's tough, durable, and willing to push pace even when the exchanges get messy. Lucas Almeida, on the other hand, meanwhile, is 2-3 in the UFC, but his record doesn't fully reflect how competitive he's been. He's had some tough matchup, and he's shown real flashes of finishing power, both on the feet and in scrambles. Almeida's biggest weapon is his finishing upside. His striking carries danger late, and he can change a fight in an instant. Expect a high-paced, scrappy affair where Aswell tries to mix in takedowns and smother Almeida's rhythm, while Almeida looks to land more damaging shots. Aswell likely wins the minute-to-minute exchanges and clinch control, but Almeida's knockout or submission potential keeps him dangerous throughout. Both men have holes that the other can exploit. Almeida's defensive grappling and cardio, Aswell's defensive awareness and chin. So this could come down to a few big moments. I am reluctantly going to go with Michael Aswell here. I might pick flip before the actual fight because I think wrestling with boxing is a solid combination against someone who is just violent and relies on their jiu-jitsu, because you can neutralize a lot of the striking threat by initiating the wrestling. And if you do have strong enough top game and you're aware of those submission threats, you should be able to hold them down and neutralize them. Now, is that amazing for the scorecards? Not necessarily, because Lucas Almeida can just have a few moments, get one drop on Michael Aswell, and no matter if Michael Aswell is dominating the wrestling for 5 minutes straight, just getting that drop that one time will win Lucas Almeida the round. So for that reason, this is a very tough fight to actually bet on. I will lead Michael Aswell, just relying on the boxing and wrestling. But again, I'm betting now against the Brazilian at home, who's, typically goes to the scorecards, and he's been screwed on the scorecards. This time I can see with a home crowd, it leans his way. So for that reason, I might actually see a pick flip here. I did my research and I went with Michael Aswell, but then looking at some of the meta factors to this fight, where it's taking place, how it's taking place, when it's taking place, is just it benefits Lucas Almeida a bit more, in my opinion. Now moving on to Ricardo Ramos versus Ofli. This is going to be a very short fight. I'm not going to give you even a good breakdown. Oops. I'm not even going to give you a good breakdown for this fight because that's how fast I plan to fly through this. Ofli is not good. Ofli does not belong in the UFC. He's not very good. Ricardo Ramos is dangerous, but he's been finished. So Ricardo Ramos has all the finishing upside, but can also be finished. Ofli, not dangerous at all, not physically gifted, just has slick jiu-jitsu to survive, but he'll allow himself to essentially be dominated. I don't think Ofli has the threat to exploit Ricardo Ramos' durability issues. And I think Ricardo Ramos will win the rounds by just being more dangerous, pushing forward, being the Brazilian in Brazil. Give me Ricardo Ramos. Pretty confident he gets the win money line. And I think he gets it done inside the distance. Pretty high confidence on that too, because I think Ofli will find himself on his back frequently, getting punched at. And he doesn't have a good reach, so even from when standing, Ricardo Ramos should have that advantage. I don't see Ofli ever on top. I don't see Ofli ever getting to those dominant positions. And for that reason, give me Ricardo Ramos. Moving on to the next one. Oh, Jhonata Diniz is Mario Pinto. So before I started breaking down this fight, originally I had Mario Pinto as my pick. After doing the research, after watching the tape, I had to go to Jhonata Diniz, and I really didn't like it because I do not like Jhonata Diniz as a fighter. He's just an idiot that can't seem to get knocked out, that just keeps coming forward, and eventually he beats the physicality and athleticism of his opponents. I don't think he actually beats them in a fight, if that makes any sense. It's just something frustrating to me because I like the better fighter to win, not the better athlete to win. And sometimes you see the better athlete wins these type of matches. Now in this one, Mario Pinto offers nothing in the ground game. Jhonata Diniz does not want to grapple. So this is going to be a pure striking match. It's going to be purely kickboxing. Let's address that up front. If you think there's going to be any grappling in this fight, you are wrong. It is going to be standing all the way through. That's what both fighters want. Both guys are durable, but I don't think Mario Pinto's ever faced someone quite like Jhonata Diniz. The danger of Jhonata Diniz is that he eats so many shots. Almost every shot his opponent throws, he eats, but for some reason, he just doesn't go down. I've been betting against him in his last two fights, and I've been losing because I'm just watching him get hit. I'm like, I'm waiting for this guy to go down. I'm just there rubbing my hands like, yo, pay me. And this guy just doesn't go down. And then next thing you know, his opponents are huffing and puffing because he threw like 50, 60 punches in this guy's head. All he got was a nosebleed out of it. And actually, Jhonata Diniz is just walking his opponent down against the fence and knocking them out. And it usually happens in the second round. He gets lit up in the first round, and then his opponent continues to pour it on the second, thinking he's about to get him out of there, and then his opponent breaks. He cracks and he goes like, "Oh no! Like I'm out of steam. My arms are like blown out, and now like my hands are down here. I'm finding myself backing up and just trying to throw out my lead jab to try and keep you away, and you're just walking down throwing these big looping shots from the outside, and they're clipping me." And that's what every Jhonata Diniz fight looks like. And I think this one's going to look like that. It only comes down to, does Jhonata Diniz knock him out in the second round, or does he go to decision and win on the scorecards against Mario Pinto? I'm going to take Jhonata Diniz as the winner here. Pretty confident on that one. And I'm going to sprinkle on Jhonata Diniz by decision. Now, I'm pretty sure he actually wins by KO. But him by decisions probably offers some pretty good odds. And his last two fights went to decision. So for that reason, give me Jhonata Diniz by decision. I think there's probably some good value there. All right, next up, Vicente Luque versus Joel Alvarez. I don't know if this fight's actually going to happen. I don't know if Vicente Luque is going to make weight because it'd be very difficult for Vicente Luque to make 170 with balls that big. Because I don't know why he took a fight against Joel Alvarez. Nobody wants to fight Joel Alvarez. Vicente Luque has been kind of looking for a fight, and I guess the UFC came to him and said, hey, we're coming to Brazil. You want to fight Joel Alvarez? And for some reason, this guy said yes. Now, my theory, or what I'm deducing from that, is this could be a retirement fight for Vicente Luque without him saying anything. Now, I don't want to assume anything, but it could be his last fight in the UFC. The reason I say that is because he's had health issues. He's been finished in freak accidents in his last couple of fights against Kevin Holland, against Joaquin Buckley. And it just didn't look good the way he gets finished. It's just like he's like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. He just changed his mind. Like, oh, I'm not a fighter. He's like an athlete. He should be coaching now. Essentially, with the way he doesn't like to get hit, he should be coaching. He has so much knowledge. I think he has one of the highest fight IQs in the UFC, and I'm giving him his roses for that. Unfortunately, his body is not as durable as his warrior spirit. Hats off for him for taking this fight against Joel Alvarez, but I think it's insane. Joel Alvarez is also coming up to welterweight, so he's not going to have that size advantage that he usually enjoys at light heavyweight because he's so much longer and bigger than his opponents, but he's going to have that durability issue probably addressed, because if anything you could say against Joel Alvarez is he seems susceptible to being finished because he's been knocked out twice. But he has 17 wins by finish, 5 wins by KO. Extremely smart grappler, but he doesn't chase the grappling. He sets up the hands, he strikes until you want to start grappling, or he hurts you and then he'll initiate. So he's not forcing the grappling. So it's like you're kind of always waiting. It's like, oh shoot, when's Alvarez going to shoot, or when's he going to try to take my back? But the answer is, I don't know. He doesn't even know when he's going to do it. So I like that threat is always there, because his opponent has to keep that in the back of their mind so they can't complete unload or come forward against Joel Alvarez, which I don't really think is a big factor with Vicente Luque here. Yeah, because it's Vicente Luque. I think he'll die. So he's not trying to have that fight. Yeah, this one's very easy. Joel Alvarez is the side. It's a lock for me. Joel Alvarez wins this fight. I think Joel Alvarez wins by finish. It's only minus 275 for him by KO or sub. As a double chance, I have that action as well. And then I might sprinkle Joel Alvarez by round 2, because he's like a round 2 finisher. Now, Vicente Luque has been getting finished in the first round, but I think if Joel Alvarez takes his time, paces out, it's been a while since he's fought both of these men. I think in round 2 he really gets his bearings, and Vicente Luque might have already eaten some damage by then, and he gets put out. And I think there's better value in round 2 than round 1. And I know my money line, my prop bet 1 are going to be clearing on this one, so I can take a little bit of a gamble and try to sprinkle on round 2, even though it's probably round 1. But yeah, or if you're a FanDuel better, FanDuel does have in their popular plays at the very bottom, they have submission round plays. So you can go submission in round 1 or 2, or submission round 2 or 3, or KO round 1 or 2, or KO in round 2 or 3. If you're betting this on FanDuel, I really recommend you go Joel Alvarez by KO round 1 or 2 as a great value play, because that's likely where he gets it. I think he KOs Vicente Luque over submission, because again, Vicente Luque, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt of his own, has 9 submission wins. Yes, he has been submitted in the past with club and subs. But he has been dropped pretty easily from the striking, and there should be a striking advantage for Joel Alvarez here for sure. And that's the breakdown for that fight. Now we go to our co-main event between Deiveson Figueiredo and Montel Jackson. I was always a Deiveson Figueiredo fan ever since the whole Brandon Moreno series. I think this guy's so violent. The way he used to fight building up to the Brandon Moreno series, that quadrilogy, if you call it anything. I think they fought 4 times, or is it 3 times? It could be 4. But they just fought nonstop for like 2.5 years straight. It was just them fighting each other. It was great. I love that series. But this is a very different Deiveson Figueiredo. Those times are behind us. This is him fighting up a weight class where he's a smaller dude against most of his opponents. We didn't see him respond well when he's a smaller guy. In his last fight, it was a TKO loss, but it's because he hurt his knee. He injured his knee, and now he's rushing back to this fight, which is a huge concern of mine, because I don't think you can heal back to 100% from that kind of knee injury. Like, his knee was destroyed in less than a year. I think it's only been like 6 or 8 months since we saw him last fight, and his knee was destroyed, and that's why he got the TKO loss, but he's only been finished once legitimately. And I think he's taking this fight only because it's in Brazil, and he was offered a co-main event, which means he's getting good money for this fight. So it's probably like, oh no, doctor says I should take another few months, get to 100% before I fight anyone. But they're like, oh, we'll give you 2.5 times your normal money because it's a co-main event. And he's coming off a loss in his last fight, so this is a pretty good opportunity here. Because let's say he waits the 4 months, right? He's not getting paid for that period. He comes back, he fights, he doesn't know who he's fighting, and let's say he loses. Is he ever getting another co-main fight again? And if he was going to get that opportunity and he wanted a co-main fight on his return back, who was he going to fight that would get him that shot, right? Montel Jackson wasn't going to wait around. So I think this is one of those positions where the UFC coerced Deiveson Figueiredo to come back by incentivizing him. Because, look, it's at home. You're 37 years old, coming off an injury. You get the money for a co-main event. You celebrate in front of your fans. Win or lose, you're still kind of a winner in the home crowd. And if he's ever going to talk about the R word, this would be the place to do it. Like, you're 37 years old. If you lose this fight, you're unranked in this division. You'll probably need 4 or 5 fights to even get into the title shot, or 4 or 5 wins to even get into a title shot discussion. So which means the title shot is behind you, which I think if Montel Jackson beats Deiveson Figueiredo here, which I feel highly likely is going to happen. Figueiredo could mention the R word. Now, I still think he has a lot of gas left in the tank. I just don't think there's any title round or anything left for him to achieve here because this is a former champion, right? Who's fighting here. Like, what's the point if you're not going to be champion again and you're not even going to be ranked? Like, he's going to be fighting his way into top 15 ranking, if anything. So that's something I don't really like. And I think he's coming back too fast from his injury. On top of that, look at the reach difference and size difference in this fight. We've seen Figueiredo struggle against larger opponents trying to get inside, where he would typically like to get the takedowns, but Montel Jackson's a great wrestler himself, and he's really tall, so I don't see those body lock takedowns working. He'll have to shoot those traditional wrestling takedowns and ankle picks, which he just does not do. For that reason, this is just a bad matchup stylistically. Give me Montel Jackson win, really high confidence. Give me Montel Jackson by decision because it's only a 3-round fight. I think Figgy is very durable unless his knee gives out on him. I see Montel Jackson just coasting on the outside to a win, and this is a full-size octagon. This is not the Apex, so he's going to have a lot of space to work, and these are small dudes, right? They're fighting at 135. So Montel Jackson will have all the footwork and all the space he needs to implement his strategy to beat Deiveson Figueiredo on the scorecards. Could he knock him out? Sure. I don't see him trying to submit him. But also, Figgy's super durable, where he's only been legitimately KO'd once. The other one, like I said, it was a knee injury where they had to call the fight. So that's the breakdown. Give me Montel Jackson in this one. And finally, in our main fight of the evening, we have Charles Oliveira versus Mateusz Gamrot. This is a really close fight physically and on the odds. Look at that. It's -110. Let's pick them on both sides. And what I want to raise is we know this fight's going to be in Brazil. We know Charles Oliveira is probably the most beloved Brazilian fighter in the UFC. He's like a superstar out there, like the new king of Rio. Why is he only -110? And I'll tell you why. Because if Charles Oliveira, whose brain was turned to mush by Ilia Topuria in his last time out, does not get this finish in the first 2.5 rounds, I think he's in real trouble to either lose on the scorecards or to get finished himself. We see Charles Oliveira go 5 rounds to Michael Chandler because Michael Chandler isn't really a grappling threat, so he takes his back, he backpacks him for the last 2 rounds, and it looks like, oh, he's dominating him. Charles Oliveira was out of gas. That's why he was backpacking. He wasn't trying to do anything else. Just backpacking, holding on for dear life. That's even when Chandler got up and did those backdrops. He wouldn't let go because if he had to stand up, he knows he's done. And Charles Oliveira also does those standing backpacks, which could come back to hurt him later. Because Mateusz Gamrot's a really high-level grappler. We see him scramble out of every type of submission attack and every kind of a tough spot. He just scrambles out of it. And if Charles Oliveira does those weird standing backpacks where they try to like hook one of the legs and try to eventually, wear down your opponent, make you carry the weight, I think his own legs will start to blow out more than Mateusz Gamrot fatigues. And as the fight goes on, if Charles Oliveira can't really step, he can't really move, he's not shooting takedowns, he's not moving his head, Mateusz Gamrot can knock him out because his chin is weak and he doesn't have cardio. Late in the fight, Charles Oliveira is very exposed. Whether it be his chin or whether it be his cardio. Whereas I can't say the same for Mateusz Gamrot, right? But that being said, Charles Oliveira has the most finishes in the UFC. So my main pick for this fight is fight not to go the distance. It's -250 for the fight to not go the distance. I can see Charles Oliveira getting the submission win in the first 2.5 rounds against with how much Mateusz Gamrot likes to grapple, or he's unsuccessful in the first 2.5 rounds. He's gonna want his backpack, but he's not gonna be able to secure it against Mateusz Gamrot because of the skill level. And then Gamrot's gonna push him into a place he doesn't want to be, and then he can get the finish later on before he gets to the final scorecards. If you like Gamrot in this fight, I strongly recommend you take a Gamrot late finish because they'll pay the most money. If you like Oliveira in this fight, take him early to get the finish, probably in rounds 2 or 3. He's not really a big round 1 finisher, and Mateusz Gamrot's relatively durable for that. So those are my angles based on how you like it, but my safe play is this fight is not going to go to the scorecards. It is going to end inside the distance. And now we'll get down to our best plays, and it sucks I'm just a floating head here. I will try to fix this. I hope it does not happen again next time I try to record because everything was looking good. Anyways, UFC Fight Night Rio top picks. My number 1 pick of the card, Valter Walker by submission. He's going to win. I feel very strong he's going to be a submission. I think that's his game plan he's coming in with. I'll be so disappointed if this doesn't work because that's kind of like my staple. If I'm going to parlay these, and that's my big stapler. Number 2 is Joel Alvarez inside the distance, right? 30% juice essentially on that one. Montel Jackson to win, another 30% juicer. We got Oliveira versus Gamrot inside the distance at -250. And Julia Pilastri, I know it's a minus 450, nothing sexy, but it pads it. So that gives you a total if you parlay all 5 of these together, it gives you plus 670 odds. So $100 gives you back 770. You make $670 in profit. I think it's a relatively safe play. Do your own homework, take what you will. We haven't hit a perfect parlay for about a month and a bit now, so it's been about 4 or 5 videos since we had a perfect parlay. But we're always going positive. We're going 3 for 5 at a minimum every single one. So but these are safer than we usually put out there. Usually when I'm putting out 5 picks, I try to make them total close to 16 to 24 times. This one's only 6 or 7 times. So it's a lot safer because there are some fights that I'm just avoiding. There's about 4 or 5 fights that I'm just avoiding betting because I'm not 100% sure. And you'll see them, they show very low confidence if you go back and watch the video again. But these are the ones I'm going to throw together. I am going to be parlaying this, even though you shouldn't, but I'm going to do it. And that's the video for this week. That's the breakdown. If you like it, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you never miss any of our videos or uploads. If you like NFL football or college football, make sure you're following us on TikTok or Instagram. We're not doing full-length videos or doing the video format on YouTube for NFL, but we are uploading picks onto Instagram. They're very easy to read. They're nice. Our branded templates are going up there with whoever we're taking. Usually NFL props, scoring props, receiving props, and we do not put out any favorite picks in NFL. So every single pick is plus money. It's plus money dog. All right. Every single pick we put out is plus money. We're not saying, oh, this guy to get 2 catches for minus 300. We're not putting that out. We're saying we're going alt lines. We're going to say stuff like Tyquan Thornton, which was what we gave away last week to get 2 receptions at plus 140. We also gave Dynami Brown at plus 4 receptions. I think he ended with 3, unfortunately, but that was at plus 160. But those are the type of picks that we're giving out. They're doing quite well. So if you do like NFL, you do want to follow our picks, those are going to be available on TikTok and Instagram. So make sure you give us that follow. I have nothing else to say this week. Again, please drop your picks in the comments, whatever you like, don't like. Let me know which parlay you're playing. If you got a guaranteed lock parlay that you're willing to share with our community, because we're trying to get everyone paid, that's the reason for this channel, please drop it in the comments below. I want to see who is good at what they do here. All right, and see you guys next week. Cheers.